Movie marketing is a concept that seems so rife with potential and yet is squandered time and time again with boring billboards, bland trailers and uncreative announcements. Some movies, however, pull this off magically. Some studios, creatives and whoever figure out a way to market movies so well that sometimes the marketing for a film is more glued into your brain than the actual movie. But of course, some great movies get awful marketing and as a result go underappreciated for a long time. Then there's the case of just wrong marketing, advertising your movie as something it isn't entirely. So today we're going to look into the 3 most interesting ways movies have been marketed. So this is the good, the bad, the ugly, the marketing effect. First of all, we have the good. Movies with incredible promotion and advertisements. I'll give you 2 examples of brilliant and ingenious ways movies have marketed to audiences and examine them just a little bit. So, for the first one, we have my favorite of all of these, Scream. So, if you have never seen Scream, this marketing could still convince you of something. But I'm going to get into spoilers for the first 15 minutes of Scream here, so if you don't want to know, skip to here for the next example. So, in all the posters, the trailers and billboards, Drew Barrymore was the forefront of the Scream marketing. Naturally, really, she was the biggest name attached to the project at the time, probably other than Courtney Cox of Friends fame. However, Friends had only been on the air for a year or 2, so it wasn't quite the phenomenon it turned into in the end. So, people were led into the film thinking Drew Barrymore was the lead of the film. However, imagine their shock when she dies within the first 10 minutes. This is so genius because Scream is a metatextual horror film that builds itself on being unpredictable because it's playing predictable the entire time. So when the assumed lead dies within the first 10 minutes, you are completely stranded for the rest of the movie. You have no idea where it's going to go and who it's really about. This kind of marketing was also done more recently with Avengers Endgame, where the trailer only showed footage of the first 10 minutes, leaving you with no idea what's happening for the rest. The second Scream film also did this with Jada Pinkett Smith with similar success, but it ultimately had less impact because it had already been done the first time. The second movie with great marketing that we're going to talk about here for a completely different reason is Deadpool. This movie was made reluctantly by the studio after fans pressured them into greenlighting it after some test footage got leaked. Now there is good ground to call this part of the marketing as it was leaked by an inside person. Who that person is, we don't know, but it really kicked up hype for this film before it was even made. Then once the movie was being made and being released, the marketing was just a joyride to witness. Not only did they have an incredible trailer that still holds up now, showcasing every element of this film's utility belt, but it confirmed the R-rated nature of the movie, which was even more rare then than it is now for a comic book movie, so that just built the hype even more. Then on top of all of that, they had some of the best promotion in terms of appearances and posters in cinema history, doing purposefully misleading billboards and posters to add to the comedy outside of the movie, like this romance poster or this stupid emoji billboard. There's tons of funny and idiotic parody posters and comedic choices that were made very obviously by Ryan Reynolds behind the scenes, and it was very hard not to get grabbed by this movie. The sequel also carried on this tradition with an actual budget this time, making it a bit easier. Before moving on to the next set, I'd like to just shout out a few movies with some other good marketing. So there's Jurassic Park with the brilliant tagline, 65 million years in the making. The Blair Witch Project for being able to trick audiences into believing the film was real. And the Child's Play reboot, which despite not being an amazing movie, had some brilliant posters of Chucky murdering Toy Story characters in a number of ways. Next up we have the bad. Good movies that were poorly marketed. First of all, we have Prometheus. Okay, so anybody that has seen my movie diaries knows I rewatched the entire Alien franchise recently and I have less than favourable words for this movie. However, I think this isn't due to the marketing and, well, the film's concept. See, this film is actually pretty good. I think it's a well-made movie with interesting concepts and beautiful atmosphere and landscapes, but here's why this film sucks. It's not an Alien movie. This was heavily marketed as Ridley Scott's return to the Alien franchise and universe, which was welcomed after the previous 2 installments being the disasters that they were. People were excited to get a new Alien film from the original creator, which was said to be a prequel, and quite obviously, technology had vastly improved since that original. A bigger budget and a good cast, everything seemed all too perfect for this movie, which was until audience went into the movie and realised there is next to no xenomorphs or relations to the Alien franchise in this movie. The real plot of this movie is between humans and their gods, their creators. There were a few alien nods in here, but that was generally there to appease fans, and apparently the studio, since the original plan for this movie it wasn't going to be a prequel to Alien at all. It was just another movie in that universe, which is entirely unrelated to the other movies. In hindsight, this seems kind of obvious when looking at the posters, which make no mention of xenomorphs or the wider universe, but when you watch the trailer, you see the true intentions behind this marketing. It makes little to no reference to the actual plot of the film, which does this film a great disservice. The backlash was well received though, since the next installment in this new Alien run was Alien Covenant, which was a true return to that franchise, which helped connect Prometheus into the overall story. Now the next one is going to be a bit more brief, since I thought it was an example of the weirdest bad movie marketing possible, which is The Iron Giant. Now this movie is here because it received next to no marketing at all. See, this is partly due to the studio, but also partly due to the director, Brad Bird. From what I understand, the studio wanted to shelve the movie since they had no faith in the project, and then release it much later on in a slow period with some marketing. However, Brad Bird wasn't happy with that idea after some test screenings went well, so he fought against the studio and got the film released with no marketing, which is just a baffling idea. I understand that you want your project to not be shelved for a while, but given how you know it tested so well with audiences, you should know your film will do well regardless of when it comes out, and then at least you would have a fair marketing campaign. Now, to Brad Bird's credit, he may have thought his film was going to be shelved forever, which definitely could have happened, and this was his first real movie, so I understand him wanting it to work out well, but unfortunately it didn't. Luckily though, this film has gained some traction since its release and is now well regarded as one of the best animated movies of all time, and has a very big following, so this is one with a happy ending at least. Plus, Brad Bird went on to make The Incredibles and Ratatouille and some other movies we don't talk about, so I think he's doing fine. Lastly, we have The Ugly. Bad movies with good marketing, movies with misleading marketing, or movies with very troubling marketing. There's actually going to be a few of these, since there isn't much in-depth things I want to talk about in many of these cases, but rather just present to you the absolute bizarre circumstances some movies found themselves in. First of all, we have Tenet, which Christopher Nolan decided to only release in cinemas in the middle of the COVID-19 global pandemic. 2020 was a tough year to be a movie, with nearly all cinemas closing and with people not really leaving their houses at all. So releasing your movie to be a theatre-only experience was essentially a death sentence. The reasoning behind this is that Nolan wanted to make a film that could only be experienced in the cinema and wouldn't settle for a streaming release, which I understand to a degree. However, 1, read the room, and 2, just hold your movie off for a while. Delay it like every other movie had been. Sure, it would have been a hit to your investment, but releasing it as it was lost you roughly $100 million. Besides, the movie itself isn't even that great, so to market it as an experience only to be had in the cinema when people were literally dying by the thousands was a poor choice made in even poorer taste. The second one is much quicker to talk about, but Mission Impossible 3 made the ingenious idea to put devices in newspaper dispensers which were mistakenly identified as bombs on multiple occasions, and even had numerous bomb squads called out to perform tactical explosions to get rid of these devices. What a stupid thing to do! The next one is just a personal vendetta, but fuck the 2016 Suicide Squad movie, because the trailer for that film is so goddamn fucking awesome. It's genuinely one of the best trailers I have ever seen, and the movie is just one of the biggest pieces of shit I have ever seen. And lastly, The Last Action Hero. The studio thought it was a cool idea to spend $500,000 on getting the name of the movie plastered onto a NASA rocket to advertise the movie. The problem being that the movie, one, had nothing to do with rockets or space, so it was a weird idea in the first place, but also the actual launch was delayed so much that the movie had already arrived and bombed at the box office before the rocket had even left the atmosphere. Also to do with this movie, they had erected a huge balloon of the main character in the middle of Times Square with him holding dynamite 3 days after the '93 World Trade Center bombing. This obviously rubbed some people the wrong way, so the inflatable Arnie was taken down, the dynamite was replaced with the police badge, and it was erected again. Before it was complained about more and then taken out, sent on a barge in the middle of the ocean to die. What a funny and expensive way to fail your movie completely. I think what's funniest about this film was it was attempting to compete with Jurassic Park at the time, and looking back that is an absolutely outlandish thing, but at the time it kind of made sense. It's just hilarious given today's context of both of those movies' legacies. And that's it. Those are all the ways that movies have been marketed through their numerous avenues of creativity, budgeting, and lack of awareness. There are a million examples of good and bad and ugly marketing for whatever reasons, like Paranormal Activity, Cloverfield, The Grinch, The Dark Knight, Dread, and a slew of others which I couldn't get to due to timing, but rest assured I would love to talk about them more in the comments. So if you enjoyed this, let me know. If you didn't, also let me know, and let me know all of your opinions on the way movies have been marketed in the past, the ones in this video and the ones not mentioned included. And with that said, I hope to see you next time, and as always, keep watching movies.